today's video, we're going to be talking about 25 tips and tricks for online school, studying, and school in general. Now, this school year is going to be a very interesting one. Some people are going back in person, hybrid, or online. For me personally, I'm going to be going online. So we're going to start the video with online school tips, and then later on in the video, I will include some of my study tips and school tips that I have learned over the years. So I'm going to be a sophomore in high school, and I'm going to be starting dual enrollment classes this fall. So I have a lot of knowledge and everything to share with y'all, and I'm super excited to share the information, spread the love. I love being open, and I always love to share my tips and tricks of how I do things. So without further ado, let's get into the video. So before we start, I want to include a disclaimer in this video is that study tips, online school tips, everything works differently for everybody. There are 7 billion people in this world. Of course, there's not going to be one universal tip and trick video that everybody is going to agree with or is going to work for them. The tips and tricks that I'm going to share with you have worked personally for me and for my learning style. I'm a visual / writing style learner. I learn by writing, by reading, by seeing. And those tips reflect my personal learning style. So if they don't work for you, there's other videos on YouTube, but please don't be hateful in the comment section because I know there can be some people who are. So before we start, there are some things that we need to establish. 2 things to be specific. One is that motivation comes and goes. It is fickle. It is not something that is always there. The most people who are the most successful are disciplined people because they're disciplined enough to persevere and work towards their goals. Not because they're always 100% motivated, but because they value their goals and dreams enough to be motivated enough to do it. So before we get into the tips and tricks, you need to ask yourself 3 questions. 1 question, what is something that I'm good at when it comes to terms of studying in school? Is it you're good at memorizing? Is it you're good at writing notes, annotating, whatever? Find out what you're good at and write it down. Next thing you need to do is write down, what can I improve on? Am I not good at sitting down for long periods of time? Am I not good at grasping concepts and ideas from textbooks? Figure out what you're not good at because this will help you improve your studying styles and help you improve for future reference. The next thing you need to figure out is, why do I constantly find myself struggling? It could be because of procrastination. It could be because you're easily distracted. It could be because you don't set aside enough time for the things that you need to do. It's because you don't have a schedule. It could be a number of things, but you need to sit yourself down and ask yourself these questions because they are very important. There's an answer to all of these questions, and the answers will help you figure out how to kind of get yourself onto the track that you want to get. So once you have established those, my next few tips should help you get on track. So the first few things that we're going to talk about is tips for people who are doing online school specifically. So I have my notebook here with all the information that I'm going to be talking about, lots of stuff. So the first 7 tips I'm going to talk about is for online school specifically, or people who are working from home in general. So the first thing you need to do is to have a routine. You need to set your hours. If you're going to be staying online and you're not doing Zoom calls, I am, but if you're not, you need to set your hours and you need to figure out when you're going to do work, when you're not going to be doing work, because those hours can really blend together, especially since our work is online and we're online as our form of entertainment as well. You need to figure out your hours, set a routine. Make sure that you have a time when you're waking up, when you're going to bed, when you are working out. Set some structure to your day. If there's a way that you can set structure to your day, set it. Either work out a specific time in the day, make food at a specific time in the day, have a sports practice, which will make you set your schedule around that. Set a routine and stick to it. As much as you want in quarantine to, wake up at 11 a.m. and start your day then, and then feel groggy by 3 p.m. No, set a routine and stick to it. The next thing is to pretend you're going out every day. So you don't have to get full glam, you don't have to do your makeup or anything like that. But what you need to do, get yourself out of bed, brush your teeth, wash your face, put on some chill clothes. They don't have to be full on, professional, business casual type beat, but at least put on something other than your pajamas once in a while. It could even just be sweatpants. Put something different on than your pajamas to get yourself almost kind of started in your day. Pretend you're going out, pretend you're going to see someone, run errands, whatever. It'll motivate you to get up out of bed and to actually start your tasks instead of just end up laying around in bed all day. The next thing is to have a workspace and set it up with everything you need. So if you're doing online school, obviously you're going to need a computer, you're going to need your notebooks, pens, highlighters, everything that you need to get on track for the day. And why I say to set it up with the things that you need is so you're not constantly getting up to get something that you need. So if you know you need a ruler for math class, get up and get the ruler before you start the class so you're not constantly going back and forth and just distracting yourself from the lesson and grasping the concepts. So the next thing is to take breaks. Take breaks. Even when we're at home, if you're doing online school and you don't have set Zoom hours that you're supposed to attend, take breaks, do work for an hour, maybe 2, then take a 30-minute to an hour break. Allow yourself downtime. Allow yourself to do something other than school once in a while. Breaks are important. It's not good to just sit down and cram all the information in one time. If you schedule your time well, you should be able to do your work and also take breaks and have fun in that schedule. So, you can make your breaks productive, which will make you feel better at the end of the day. This is optional again, but this is just something I do, which is to take productive breaks, such as doing laundry, eating a healthy snack, drinking water, preparing food, activities that are pretty much mindless, but they're breaks in terms of studying. So like you can clean up your bathroom, and that would be a mindless activity that you can do as a break in between your study sessions or in between you doing school. And one thing I really want to touch on, especially when working from home, is prioritizing your mental health. Mental health is super important, and it's not something that we should take lightly. You should be pushing yourself to work as hard as possible during quarantine and even when we're doing online school, but you also need to make sure that you are prioritizing your mental health and not letting school be put above everything. You should be getting some sleep, taking care of yourself, having self-care days. Just make sure that you are good before you start pressuring yourself with school. So the next tips that I have, we're going to talk about some study tips. I have a lot of study tips. So the first thing is, this is a technique that I have been using for about 3 or 4 years. I think I started using it in 7th grade, and now I'm going into 10th grade, so you can do the math. But basically what you're going to need to do is use 2 notebooks for every class, or you can just have one like super huge notebook that you use for all your classes, depending on how many you have. But you're going to use 2 notebooks. So the first notebook is going to be a rough, like messy notes notebook. This is especially good if your teachers teach in a lecture style, super fast-paced note-taking style. So this allows you to write down any information, not really caring about the aesthetics or how pretty it looks. So I have notebooks for these. These are usually 3 to 5 subject notebooks that I get from like Walmart or Target to use for my messy subject notes. And then once I get home, or if you're doing online school after the class, I would go into my nicer notebooks, which are the Kokyo Canvas Smart Ring binders. And this is where I would then transfer the information, summarize it, take out any points that I don't need to have in my final notes, and then put it into a more pretty aesthetic version that I will then use to study off of, review off of. These are the notes that I would give to friends. These are the notes that I would, like if I had a Tumblr, I would post them, but those are the notes that I would use to study off of. Now, this note-taking method is not for everybody. Not everybody is going to like it because it is a little bit time-consuming if you don't do it right. But I really like it because, again, I'm a visual learner. I learn by reading, writing, and seeing stuff. So the more I write something, the more I read something, the more it's gonna stick in my brain. So for me, rewriting the notes in a more aesthetically pleasing way is honestly a study form for me, and it has worked really well in helping me retain information with minimal studying. So the next thing is you need to eliminate all noise and distractions when you are studying. So if you're studying in your room, make sure your TV is off. Make sure your show is paused. Make sure you are not playing anything that could be distracting you from doing this. If you are in a house, isolate yourself. Go to a corner. Go on the couch. Go in an area where no one is. If you don't have a desk or a workspace, just isolate yourself and remove yourself from the distractions around you. This will help. Now, again, you don't need to eliminate all noise. I know some people like studying with like rain sounds or white noise. Some people even make study playlists, which you can totally do. But choose your study playlist wisely. For me, music personally is just a little bit too distracting. If I'm going to be listening to anything, I would usually listen to something like rain sounds, which I have an app that I will show you guys on the screen. It's really cool, and I love the rain sounds on there because there's so many different options. You can do like a thunderstorm, rain on the ocean or stuff like that. There's just so many different options and everything, so I like that. And this tip you've probably heard before, but it is to break down bigger projects and assignments over time to avoid procrastination. So if you have a big project, you were given August, the first day of school, take that assignment and break it down into small little parts each day that you do, or every other day, or every 3 days you do a small part of the assignment. And by the end of the time, you would have finished the assignment, you wouldn't have been stressed, you wouldn't have been rushed, and you would have finished it with time to spare, most likely. So the next thing is to start everything early. So this kind of goes with the last tip that I said, but starting everything early helps you so much. Do not procrastinate. Do not say, I will do it later. Do not say, oh, I have so much time. No, start everything early. Do everything as soon as you get it. You get homework in class, you will see me starting to work on it as soon as the teacher hands it out. You know why? Because then if I finish that homework in class, when I come home, I don't have to worry about that class. I don't have to worry about the homework. All I have to do is sit down, chillax, or do any other homework for any other classes that I got. So the next thing is to do practice work / test questions. This tip saved me so many times. Practice tests and practice questions are probably the best form of studying that I've done for my weakest subject. So my weakest subject is math. I suck at math. But so my best way to study math is not like going over the concepts, not going over the equations, but it is doing those practice tests and those practice problems. So I will assess myself. I'll say, hey, I'm not that good at quadratics, so let me go online and let me get some quadratic worksheets. You can find millions of them online. Print one out or just write down the questions on a piece of paper. Do them. Check yourself, check your answers. If you don't understand something, Google it. There's Khan Academy, there's Quizlets, there's YouTube videos explaining all of this. Do the practice tests and just kind of, so this kind of goes in with my next tip, which is to use the resources provided to you. We have the internet provided to us. The internet is a very valuable resource. There are hundreds of helpful people on the internet. Again, like I said, Khan Academy, YouTube videos, podcasts, TED Talks, documentaries, research papers. Everything is accessible and available to us in this day and century. So use it. Don't be afraid to go out and find things that you need if your teacher is not giving you the help that you need. But that being said, go to your teacher first. Your teachers are there for a reason. Your teachers want to help see you succeed. Hopefully they do. Most teachers want to see you succeed and want to see you, pass the class. So if you are struggling with something, if they explain something and you didn't get it, go to them and they will be glad to explain it to you again. What they will not be happy to do is try to bump up your grade when you did no effort, when you put no effort into the class. But if the teacher sees that you're putting effort, that you are coming to the class, you're coming to their office hours, you're in their class during lunch, you're in there after school, you're doing everything that you can to help yourself understand it, they will be more than willing to help you out. And this goes again with my next tip, is to make friends with your teachers, because they will be your best friend or your worst enemy. They can be the difference between you having a B- and an A+. I will go into this tip a lot more in a future video that I have coming out, because I don't want this video to be too long. But make friends with your teachers. Ask questions. Ask them. Be nice. Just help them and they will help you as well. So the next tip that I have is to do all and any extra credit work. Do it. Extra credit work will be the difference of your grade. You might accidentally fail a test, but that extra credit will be there to bump you, to buffer you. It'll be there as almost like a safeguard. If your teachers provide extra credit, because I know some teachers no longer provide extra credit, which is weird to me. But extra credit has saved my grade so many times. There's a time when I don't do well on a test, but I have the extra credit in my grade, so it helps and it balances out. It balances out to a nice grade, and I'm not super stressed anymore. So do it. The next tip that I have is to set up a reward system for motivation. So if you find yourself constantly getting distracted, not being motivated, and not being able to just sit down and do a task, you might need to reward yourself for doing the task, which might help you actually like sit down and do it. So I have a few more tips. So these are more general school tips. If you're going to school in person, most of these tips will be more helpful to you, but even if you're online, these tips should be good as well. So the first tip is don't let yourself fall behind. Don't slack off. Do the extra credit. Do every assignment as soon as you get it. This kind of goes hand in hand with some other tips that I talked about. Again, I'm reiterating it because it is so important. Next, check your grades constantly. I don't care. You will see me checking my grades. Like during school, I check my grades probably 2 or 3 times a day because teachers update grades constantly. They update grades at random times. If you see an assignment is missing, or you got a lesser grade than you think you should have, or something happened with your grade, talk to your teacher. The earlier you talk to your teacher, the earlier the problem is resolved. So check your grades constantly. Make sure everything's done. And then this is a tip, so if you're doing online or even if you're doing in person, every night when you come home or when you finish school, make sure that you check that nothing is due before you go to sleep or before you start doing anything else. So the first thing you do when you're finishing school, you come home after school, check your online portal or whatever, make sure nothing's done. Check your backpack, make sure you don't have any homework in there. Make sure you weren't given anything to sign, to give to your parents, that you don't have anything. And check again once you're done with that, because I don't know how many times this has happened, but when you do that check, you might find out that there's something you missed, there's something you forgot about, there's something that slipped your mind, and you need to do it. So do it, and this will help save your grade. So the next thing that I have is to have a planner or bullet journal. This will save you. In this planner or bullet journal, write down every single assignment that you get. I don't care how small it is. I don't care if you just are about to complete it. Write it down. It will help you. Every assignment matters. Every assignment matters. Write all of them down. Once you're completed, check them off. You can have a whole section in your bullet journal or planner dedicated to assignments. Some planners have like inserts that you can put in your bullet journal. You can make it yourself. Write everything down. The next thing is to figure out your learning style. So I talked about this briefly before, is that I'm a visual learner. I learn best by reading. I learn best by writing. And the final tip is that if you aren't ahead, you're behind. This is the motto that I come through with every single school year, is that if you aren't ahead, you're behind. If you are not ahead of the teacher, if you're not ahead of the concepts, you need to work your behind off and get ahead. You need to be ahead of the teacher. If you get a syllabus, go through the syllabus and get ahead of the teacher. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I really enjoyed filming it, and if you did, make sure you leave a like and a comment down below, and don't forget to subscribe. I have new videos coming out every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern time, so if you want to stick around for that, please do. I have more back to school content coming up for the whole month of August, so be sure to stay tuned for that. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. The word of the day is going to be coconut. I know that's a little bit different than my flowers that I've been doing, but I really can't think of a flower right now, so I'm not going to. Anyways, comment down below coconut if you got to the end of this video, and bye guys.